I mean, Hugo, we come to you now from the gallery, and that depicts the unfinished business of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. And around me are the faces and names of those who sought answers, as well as the loud and haunting silence of those whose cases are unresolved 30 years later, stone-cold cases. But joining me to talk about this work, as well as other works in the museum, is the curator, Emilia Potenza. Emilia, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Tell us about this gallery that we are in and what this work seeks to do.
So this exhibition is a partnership between the Apartheid Museum and the Human Rights Foundation, and it really arose out of the constitutional damages case that was brought by 25 families in January last year against the South African government. And their case was to say that although they cases were recommended by the TRC for prosecution, nearly 30 years later, still none of these cases have been prosecuted, and they are suing the government for damages of 157 million rand, and they also called on the government to set up a commission of inquiry into why these cases have not come to court, why no prosecutions have happened. And the Kampepe Commission of Inquiry is sitting as we speak with quite a lot of complicated legal processing going on around it, and also prosecutors who were part of the NPA, like Bulelani Ngcuka and Anton Ackerman and others who have given evidence this week. So it's very much a case, very topical and very much something that is unfolding as we speak. But our motivation for doing this exhibition is to start off with where the TRC, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, left off. And that was to say that the deal was that those who applied for amnesty and were not granted amnesty were to be prosecuted. Those who applied and were not granted amnesty, and those who didn't apply. And the TRC recommended that more than 300 cases should be prosecuted, 300 perpetrators should be prosecuted. Now, the fact that none of this has happened has effectively granted amnesty to all perpetrators.
And you know, I think it's important that you mention that, Emilia, because from a curator's perspective, how does one go about then curating absence, really, right? Absence of justice for these families whose names are written here, absence of justice as well. It must be an interesting process, putting together a space that really does just signal a hollowness.
It's been a very hard exhibition to curate because there's no redemption. You know, the rest of the museum, until the TRC process in the museum, was about the triumph of good over evil, was about the defeat of apartheid by, you know, the anti-apartheid struggles, the defeat of colonialism and apartheid after decades of struggle, the Mandela presidency, the transition to democracy, and the hope and promise that brought as a society, to us as a society. This story is saying that the democratic dispensation has failed victims of apartheid, those who were found to be victims of gross human rights violations, the names of which are on these lists behind us, 22,000 names on these lists. And they weren't all victims who died. Some of them have survived. And they have not seen justice. And the 25 families are kind of emblematic. They don't represent the full number of people for whom, you know, justice has been delayed. But they are the ones who represent this community of people who are saying, why? Why has justice been delayed? And we continue to fight for accountability. We are not prepared to accept that we will never see justice, even if the perpetrators have died. We still want and need to know the truth, and we need some form of accountability.
Amelia, I mean, museums, I don't know how popular museums continue to be, particularly for those whose history it affects, right? So tell us about the people that come through the corridors of the museum. What's the profile of those people, and how important a role do museums continue to play in educating nations?
So we are one of the most visited museums in the country. We get an average of about 1,000 visitors a day. The majority of those visitors, I'm happy to say, are school children, and they come in busloads, and we take that audience very seriously, and a lot of our programming is very tailored to speak to the school history curriculum at different grade levels. We have specially designed workbooks and interactive guided tours, and we run workshops for teachers, and so that's a very big part of our work and our mission. For many learners who come to the museum, they will learn more about our history with a particular focus, obviously, on the apartheid period, than they will learn in their entire schooling, in the classroom. Sadly to say, of course, most learners drop history after grade 9. Sadly, at grade 10, 11s and 12s, the numbers of learners who do history are fairly low. That's one part of our audience. The other part of our audience are tourists, international tourists who come largely from the US, from Germany, from France, from, interestingly, Brazil. We get large numbers of people from Brazil. And then people, South Africans, come when they have visitors, often from other provinces or from other countries, except on national public holidays, where we are open. There's free entry to all South Africans on national public holidays. So I would really invite South Africans who haven't been to the museum yet to make this pilgrimage, particularly with your children, if they haven't been. We don't encourage children younger than 11 years of age because of the graphic nature of the content of the museum. But Human Rights Day is coming up, the 21st of March. It's a Saturday, and there's free entry to all South Africans on that day. So we really hope to see you if you haven't been yet.
And what do you find are some of the exhibitions that tourists are interested in?
Well, the museum tells a century of South African history, starting with the discovery of gold in 1886 right under our feet. The largest gold reef in the world was discovered right here and changed the course of South African history. Johannesburg, there's no reason for Johannesburg to exist. There's no river, but gold is the reason that Johannesburg exists. And that's where our story starts. And we go through looking at how gold mining and the nature of the gold mining industry in South Africa set up the kind of racial capital of our economy that then propelled us into a period of segregation and then apartheid in the 1940s. The question that we ask and that, begs an explanation is, how is it possible that after World War II, after the defeat of fascism, after the defeat of Hitler, after the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, how is it possible that apartheid was introduced in South Africa? And we try to answer that question. It's a complex question, and the museum, examines that.
Simplifies it in many ways. I mean, certainly lots of questions that the various exhibitions here at the Apartheid Museum seeks to piece together and answer. And there are vibrant exhibitions happening all throughout the Apartheid Museum. So certainly ahead of the 21st of March, do come through and visit just to get a sense of what is happening here